So I'm going to look at next generation PDF from the point of view of the server. So before I start, I'm a member of the technical workgroup and the marketing workgroup for the next generation PDF project. But this talk doesn't reflect what will be in the final specification. Instead, I'm going to give you my wish list. What would I like to be part of the spec? And maybe some things that I say will never end up in the spec, but may lead to another spec. So before I start, sorry for PDF fish. On April 1st, iText announced the PDF fish add-on for iText, and the tagline was, "It's PDF, but not as you know it," but that was only an April Fool's joke. The spec hasn't been finalized yet, and iText doesn't support next generation PDF yet. Actually, no one does, because it's not finalized yet. So if we talk about server-side applications, what types of applications do I talk about? Well, it's mostly applications without a graphical user interface. For instance, applications with a command line interface. Some use cases in the context of PDF is command line applications that are started by a user from a console window. You can say those aren't server applications, but most of the times it's an SSH connection to a server, and someone types out a commando and, for instance, manually generates PDF reports on a server. Or applications started from a cron job. For instance, there are companies who have a service that starts every first day of the month at 12 o'clock in the night that generates all the PDFs of the previous months. So that's a cron job. Or started from a daemon that monitors a directory. For instance, you have a shared directory, you put an invoice in that directory, and some daemon looks in that directory. The moment a new PDF arrives, it gets processed, and for instance, a PDF invoice gets all the useful information is extracted and is put in a CRM. So that's one type of server-side applications. Then you have web applications. Those are deployed on a web server. So they are triggered from a web request. So someone goes online and clicks a button, and an application starts. If it's a PDF application, the resulting PDF can be served to a viewer on the client side or can be downloaded to the end user's desk. So this is inline, this is attachment, if you look at the headers of the response. Now, all of this is the core business of iText. We do server-side creation and manipulation of PDF. We create PDFs without any human intervention, without any manual intervention. You could say, okay, here in the web server, there's someone who pushes a button, but the actual PDF is created in an automated way. There's no one sitting at the desktop writing the text and creating a PDF. Now, when we talk about serving a PDF to a browser old style, you either have the PDF already on the server in a document repository, and the user gets the PDF straight from the disk. So, like, go to FTP, or you have a directory view of what's on the server, and you download it. Or the user gets the PDF through an application server, and maybe logging in might be required. For instance, if you want ISO documents, you have to go to an OpenText system, and there are PDFs there, but you only have access if you log in. Or, and that's more our business, you create the PDF on the fly. For instance, when I flew here, I went online to the airline, I clicked the button, and a boarding pass was created in PDF. Well, if I fly KLM or Swiss, it's always iText that created the boarding pass. Or the user gets real-time view of specific data, for instance, stock information. If I go to a website that gives you stock information in the form of PDF, if I go today, I get a PDF. If I go tomorrow, the same program runs, but I get different data, and I get a different PDF. Or it's a combination of both. For instance, a bank statement. I log in, I want to see all the items on my bank statement. Well, I get a personalized view, a personalized PDF. So this is serving PDF to a browser old style. Now, what are the problems that we want to solve? Well, documents can get quite large. We had the example of newspapers or magazines where you have high-resolution images, and if you download them just to consume them, maybe you don't need the high-resolution images. Or you have more than 10,000 pages. I know in the desktop world, a document with 100,000 pages is quite unusual, but in the iText world, it's quite normal that, for instance, banks, they create like a snapshot of their database in a PDF with hundreds of thousands of pages. And sometimes there's not a single viewer that can open these documents because it's too heavy and the resources of your machine aren't sufficient. But the PDF is there, and there are tools that can fetch page per page from that document. Now, documents created on the fly and streamed to a browser can't be linearized. I have to explain. So, what you want to do is you want to click a button and have pages sent to the browser immediately, so that there's no timeout. But if you want to linearize, you cannot send any bytes to the browser, because to linearize a PDF, you need to know which resources are needed, and so you can only linearize your PDF at the very last moment. So you need the PDF before you can linearize. So that doesn't solve our problem. Sometimes you have slow internet connections. For instance, roaming. If you want to get like your bank statements, you don't want them to add all this advertisements for spending money on this or spending money on that. You just want the data. And devices might lack sufficient storage or memory to receive the document. So it's different when you're traveling, when you have roaming. You don't want the same document, the same full-featured document as you might want when you're on your hotel, when you're on the Wi-Fi. Now, a second problem that we want to solve is PDF isn't responsive. Pages have a fixed size, limited interactivity. We've covered this yesterday, or other speakers have covered this yesterday. And there's a huge difference between reading a document on a small device versus reading a device on the wall, like this slide here. Filling out PDF forms, yeah, that has become obsolete. I don't know if there are still companies investing in having PDF forms to fill out data. HTML5 has won that battle. Can we solve these problems with next generation PDF on the server side? Well, let's look at serving PDF, the old style, new format. So old style, I mean, we are going to create the next generation PDF on the fly, and we are going to serve that PDF to the browser. So we are going to send a new format to the browser. Well, if the browser doesn't support next generation PDF, what will happen? Well, next generation PDF is PDF. So it has a page tree, and that page tree will, if the browser doesn't know about anything else of next generation PDF, the browser will render those pages as if it was just an ordinary PDF. So you will see a PDF if you serve a next generation PDF file to a browser that doesn't support, or to a viewer that doesn't support next generation PDF. If the browser does support next generation PDF, the user has the full experience. So, for instance, yesterday there was a talk about rendering a PDF depending on media queries. So you had a PDF that was one small column, then you had a PDF with more columns, and then you had like a landscape PDF. Well, your device will have a viewer and will be able to select the PDF that is most appropriate for that device. Well, that's something that I would like, so I'm always talking conditionally. I may use other language, but it's all conditionally. Now, if the purpose is merely to consume the document, why would you send a full next generation PDF to a device? For instance, someone wants to read a book on a tablet. Do you really need to send the high resolution PDF that allows him to publish this book, to print this book? Maybe not. So in that case, why would you send a full-blown next generation PDF? So another example, yeah. There was a question yesterday about the file size. Does this affect the file size just like we had ordinary PDF that wasn't accessible? Then we made the PDF accessible. You have the struct reroute, so that the file size grows. Will next generation PDF have an impact on file size? Well, I think it will have, especially if you want to say, if you have like an image, and you say, I want 3 versions of this image. I want the high resolution version, I want a medium resolution version, I want a low resolution version. Well, that will obviously have an impact on the file size, and well, that's maybe something that you don't want. A real life example, a day in the life of iText support, we had a support ticket asking, well, can you explain how to create a tag PDF using iText? And we explained, and the problem was solved. The next support ticket from the same customer was, well, we can now create tag PDF, but now we want to reduce the file size of the tag PDF to the untagged PDF. So yeah, there's a trade-off there, and it's hard to explain to a customer who wants the best of both worlds. Now, serving PDF, second try, we serve new style and we serve the old format. For instance, if you have a PDF, a next generation PDF that has different versions of the PDF. Let's say you have a next generation PDF with two alternates, one A4 format, the other letter format. And you process the media queries and you say, hey, this is an American who requests a document. We will serve him the letter format. This is a European. We will serve him the A4 format. That's an example. So we will serve only the PDF that matches specific media queries. Now, what are the benefits? Well, there's no need for a next generation PDF viewer on the end user's device. We just serve one of the possible alternate PDFs. And the end user gets the PDF he needs for the specific device. It's adapted to the device, but it's not responsive yet. Now, the benefits are that the end user saves on storage, bandwidth, download time requirements. He doesn't have to download 3 versions of the PDF. He can download only one. Things that you could consider is, do we extend the concept of media queries? I live in Belgium. We have 3 official languages, so Dutch, French, German, and then we have English. Many times we need to have, like in a certain legal context, we have to provide, or the government has to provide, the document in different languages. And there have been riots, there have been eggs thrown at politicians, even governments have fallen because a Dutch guy received a French document or a French guy received a Dutch document. So how could we solve this? Well, one of my dreams is that we could have a next generation PDF that has the legal document in all the languages of our country and English, and so that a civil servant doesn't have to be afraid, oh, which document do I have to send to this guy? Well, this guy has a viewer, and the viewer knows which language he expects, so he can send the next generation PDF, and the guy will see the document in the language he prefers. So, so one thing that we could list under media queries is, do we look at the HTTP accept language header? Or, for instance, suppose that you have a map, and this map consists of different pages, and you could say, well, I look at the map on my mobile device or on my tablet, and I want the next generation PDF to always open on the page of the map that corresponds with my geolocation. So geolocation could be a nice thing to have in a next generation PDF. Or imagine being in an elevator and see the floor plan change of your PDF the moment you go to the 10th floor, for instance. Now, there are some problems with serving new style old format. What if people switch to another view? The most common use case is someone opens a document on his tablet in landscape view, gets served only the landscape view, then turns the tablet. Do we have to serve him the portrait view now? So that's a question that well, might be unanswerable, or we might decide to not go for this approach. Also, imagine, so sometimes if you go to a website on your mobile device, you have the m.website.com, and sometimes you say, hey, I'm missing information. You have this function that you can say, get the desktop version. Well, it would be nice if next generation PDF, if you use this approach, that if you see one version of the PDF, that you can say, I want the full next generation PDF, I want the full experience. Now, so we said the previous slide was about serving PDF new style, but old format. This is serving PDF new style, and we serve HTML5. So we have the next generation PDF on the server. but we serve HTML5 to the browser. The benefit is that there's no need for the browser to support the next generation PDF or even the PDF format. You just have the PDF on the server and you only send HTML5 to the browser. So traditional PDF will never support responsive design, so choosing HTML5 might be the logical thing to do if you want your content to be responsive in a browser, in the context of a browser. And all the content reflows nicely without needing an extra viewer. This is also a disadvantage because the adoption of next generation PDF on the client will be slow. So people won't need a viewer. And frankly, at iText we don't really care because we'll never invest in creating a viewer. It's an advantage to serve HTML5 because the adoption of next generation PDF on the server can and will happen overnight. If you put your next generation PDFs on the server, no one is bothered by it, but everyone benefits from it because you serve HTML5. So next generation PDF will be a format a little bit like iText. Everyone uses iText, but no one notices, and that's a good thing because the moment that you notice software, must be something wrong with the software. Well, it's usually bad when people notice which document format they use. For instance, when people want to print HTML to paper, they complain about HTML. That's a horrible format to print. Or when they open PowerPoint on a Mac, they say, it crashes constantly. And some people complain about PDF's rigidness. So I think, well, for us, next generation PDF on the server, we see this, if we could have next generation PDF and our wish list would be inside there, that's something that we would really like, because imagine a library that can walk through a PDF and select elements based on parameters. Like we have an image here, and the parameter is low resolution. Well, we'll use the low resolution image. Imagine a library that can either produce a new PDF based on these objects. So we have the page tree, but we are not going to use this page tree because we need a different view. So we are going to use an alternate PDF. And something like that can be implemented in less than a week. Some kind of device that takes next generation PDF, gets some media queries, and produces one of the alternate PDFs, a standard traditional PDF. Or imagine a library that can derive HTML5 from these objects. So there was a workshop by Roman Toda yesterday about the derivation algorithm. So next generation PDF should define unambiguous derivation methods. And if the rules are known, it should be fairly easy to convert tag PDF to HTML. It's a should, not a shall, because there's a lot of things that still need to be solved. What about SVG? What about MathML? How are you going to serve all these resources, like a font that is stored inside the PDF? How are you going to translate this to a web page? And also, one of the appealing things is you may have a PDF with a static chart, like my Google Analytics results for the month of April. And when you serve this as HTML5 to the browser, you could say, well, we are going to replace this part, this static image with my Google Analytics results. We are going to replace this part with the actual view, the month of May, for instance. Now, this opens another can of worms, namely, what about the security model if you do this? So aren't there any risks that you will serve some things that are bad? So a lot of questions. So I'm not saying what's inside the spec, but I'm raising questions that need to be addressed when we go to a more substantial spec. Now, a question that has been asked yesterday too is, do we even need PDF? So next generation PDF would be ideal for self-contained web-ready content. So you could store one or more HTML pages in the file with forbidden word provided HTML. You could store all the resources needed to view that content in that file, and you could store different versions of the same resource in that file, like different images. Now, you could have, and I know that Duff in his introduction said next generation PDF is not a website in a can, but I'm kind of freewheeling here and thinking of, wouldn't it be cool to use next generation PDF for things that some people might like? So we could export the full website as a next generation PDF and deploy it on every server and have all the resources there. Because one of the problems there is that when you transpose an HTML page, sometimes you forget resources. You could distribute the next generation PDF as an app to a mobile device. There are a lot of applications on your phone that are nothing more than a wrapper around a web page. So have next generation PDF as kind of an app, or use next generation PDF as a template. And there's the other dreadful word, XFA. Now, I know that in this room there are a lot of people who don't like these ideas, but 20 years of experience with open source PDF libraries have taught me that people always find ways to use your technology in ways you didn't expect. And there's very little that you can do about it, and sometimes there is very little that you should do about it. Now, I'm going to elaborate on one idea. That was the title of one of my talks in previous PDF days, Who's Afraid of XFA? From my point of view, next generation PDF could be ideal as a templating format. You would have the HTML for the structure of the document. You would have the CSS for the style of the document. And you would have a PDF that is a single page company stationery. Actually, one of our customers has a system. This customer prints invoices for different companies. And what they do is they accept raw data, they turn this raw data into simple HTML, and then they ask for every of their customers, give me a CSS with your color scheme, so which are company colors, and give me a PDF with your background, with your company stationery. And this company has written this system only once, and this one system accepts data in HTML, CSS, and a PDF, and creates an invoice that is then printed. And every time they sign up a new customer, they don't have to change anything in their code. They just ask, give me a one-page PDF, give me a CSS. Now you could combine this in a next generation PDF, and you would solve some of the problems that our customer has. So one of the problems that our customer has is some companies say, we want this font. This is our company font. And they need to do something special to add this font to their system. And so with next generation PDF, you could put these resources, these fonts, or validation scripts, you could put these in the HTML, in the next generation PDF. We could also use some JavaScript to do some data binding. So one of my dreams is that we could create a next generation PDF, a template, put it on a server, and then shoot JSON data at it and get a PDF back. So that's one of my dreams. So a next generation PDF could easily be deployed on an application server. You would have out-of-the-box functionality, support for a wide range of templates. You have to write the application server only once and just put next generation PDF on it, shoot data to it, and you have your PDFs. You would have no more vendor lock-in because of proprietary formats. Eclipse Bird, Jasper Report, they all have their own templating format. Well, let's create a standard for the template. It would be like XFA, but done right. So, given a next generation PDF template, what could we do? Well, we could extract the HTML5, and we could serve the HTML5, for instance, for data entry. If I want to book a flight, I have a form and I have to enter some data. Well, we could have a next generation PDF that knows how to produce that form. And I fill out the required data. The form could communicate with the server. For instance, if I enter KL, it puts KLM, AF, Air France. So some communication with JavaScript with the server. And the form would adapt to any device, desktop phone, because it's HTML5. I could use the same next generation PDF to create a document that presents this data. For instance, a boarding pass. Well, it contains more or less the same data as the data that I use to enter into the form, but the look and feel is completely different. A form is completely different from my actual boarding pass. And this solves a main problem with XFA, because in XFA, the user interface to enter the data was identical to the user interface or to the presentation of the data. And we could fix this with having this twofold presentation, one for data entry, one for data presentation. So with next generation PDF, you could define a user interface for HTML that is different from the UI for HTML. So one of the things that you could think of is let's build a WYSIWYG designer on the front end. Then let's store a template that has a subset of HTML, a subset like of Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a set of CSS that allows you to create a responsive website in no time. So it has all these predefined blocks. And let's define some data connections. And let's store this template, let's store this as a next generation PDF. And then we have a server. And this server can take the next generation PDF and serve an interactive form as HTML5, so a web form. And this form can be used to request and submit data. So you can show some data, or you can submit data. The data can be stored in an SQL database, can be JSON, can be XML, and can also be used, so you could also use the next generation PDF to populate the template with data and create HTML to CSS, and then convert this HTML and CSS to a regular PDF, a PDF A, a PDF UA, or just a regular PDF 2.0. So this is something that we have been working on, and we already have some of the elements. So for instance, you have the template, and then someone enters some data in a web page. Then this data is converted to some HTML, no pagination, and then this template is converted to a PDF with different pages. So we already have this part. We will be releasing this part in the second half of this year, and this is still, we're still waiting for it. We have either the option to create our own format, or we have the option to take what we learned from next generation PDF and make that template a next generation PDF. Now, one thing that, well, is this abuse? Is this a threat? Or is this an opportunity? Well, from my point of view, what happens on the server stays on the server. So if we use next generation PDF as the template format, no end user will be confronted with it, because it's something that will live on the server and will never leave the server. It will leave the server as HTML5, and it will leave the server as the finalized PDF A, PDF UA, or whatever. So is this abuse? Well, who's going to stop the industry from using the format in that way? And why would you stop innovative use of a new format? These are some open questions. I don't have the answer to them. Is this a threat to the PDF format? Well, do we even need to include a PDF in the next generation PDF? So what I said about the company stationery, that goes against the premise of next generation PDF. Because in next generation PDF, you want all the alternates to represent the same data. And in my proposal, we have a PDF that is like back in the days when you open an XFA file on a browser on a viewer that didn't support XFA. You are not using the latest version of Adobe Reader, or you had some message like that. If you would take my idea of using next generation PDF for a template and you open it in a viewer, you will, in a PDF viewer, you will only see the company stationery and not the rest. But like I said, what happens on the server stays on the server. No one should open a next generation PDF that is created for this purpose in a viewer. Is this an opportunity for the PDF format? Well, I think it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't embrace ideas like this. Having a standard format for a template that can be used in a document generation context and like a reporting tool. And we need to leverage the power of PDF as well as the power of HTML5. I think this solution could marry the best of both worlds. So you have the HTML5 for data entry, because you have all these neat things that, for instance, instead of having these boring checkboxes like I'm not interested, I'm neutral, I'm very interested, you could have a slider and that's not something that you have in PDF. So let's use HTML5 for data entry, but let's not abandon PDF to create the final document. Nothing beats PDF if you're talking about a legal document. Nothing beats PDF if you talk about some kind of presentation that is reliable and trustworthy, that for instance, can be digitally signed and so on. So I see this as an opportunity to marry the best of both worlds. Now, this is my final slide. We have done an experiment. So I said that we are never going to invest in a PDF viewer as iText. That doesn't mean that we are not investing in a PDF reader. A viewer doesn't need a UI. We have done an experiment, and if you go to this YouTube video, you will see how it works. We have a PDF that is a tagged PDF, and we have an Amazon Echo Dot. So that's Alexa. And we have a tool that allows you to say, Alexa, open iText PDF Reader. And Alexa will tell you which document she's in, which chapter, which paragraph. And then you can say, read, and Alexa will read the document. And you can navigate through the document using voice commands, like saying, Alexa, go to next chapter, or Alexa, repeat paragraph. And so we need to really rethink PDF in the sense of what do we want to achieve? And we need to think about PDF viewers that don't look like this, but also we need to think about PDF readers that look like this, that look like just something you talk to. And so being able to talk to a PDF would make a great case for next generation PDF. And I'm open for discussion. Okay.
So there's already a standard template about 19 years, I think, is XSL2 in that world.
Are you talking about XSLFO and XSL? Okay.
So you can already do that part of it. I can see the value of creating a PDF. I'm not sure about the value of creating a.
Okay, so the question is, there's already a standard for templating, and that's XSLT. And when you say XSLT, I immediately think about XSLFO, formatting objects. There was a period in my life when I really liked XSLT, but it's kind of a threshold to do this. There are a lot of downsides to XSLFO, in the sense that, for instance, with XSLFO, you need to first go to XML, and only then you can create a PDF. And for large documents, like documents with hundred thousands of pages, I had to abandon XSLFO because that simply didn't work. Maybe that has improved now, but...
Well, you don't need to use FO at all.
Okay.
You can just use XSLT to transform your XML source data with...
Yeah, but then are you going to package the fonts with the XSLT? Yeah, so...
It's the same issue as with any web fonts.
Yeah. So, and I see one of the opportunities for next generation PDF could be that you have one file that has all the resources that combines everything, and that you can put on the server, and this file, if you're in the cloud, no problems, it's always that file that has all the resources, and you have no problem like customers saying, it works on my test server, it works on my development server, but it doesn't work in production. Why doesn't it work in production? Well, most of the times it doesn't work in production because you didn't copy all the resources. And if you do things right with next generation PDF, you have all the resources in one file. Other questions? Other questions? Okay, thank you. There is a question there.
One question about the content or the text resource. So at the moment, a PDF has the text resource always on the
So you will. It's a PDF, so you will always have a page tree, and you will and that page tree will show you the content that is intended, so that traditional viewers can show you the PDF. I stepped a little bit outside the boundaries of what we want to achieve with next generation PDF, and I abandoned this idea a little bit. But if we talk about alternative views, we would have different PDFs that, for instance, an A4 PDF that has like 5 paragraphs on the first page, 4 paragraphs on the second page, and you would then have an alternate PDF with, for instance, 4. How many did I say? 4 on the first page, 4 on the second page. So the content would be duplicated in that context. You could avoid this by referring to the same X objects, but some duplication is inevitable if you want alternate PDFs.